The manhwa begins with a guy who's just moved into his new apartment. His name is Baek Sohan, age 23, and is being helped by his boss from the cafe where he works. When his boss comments on how little stuff Sohan has, Sohan replies that he doesn't need much since he lives alone. Amused, his boss teases him about sounding like a tired old man and encourages him to enjoy life more. Later, as the older man prepares to leave, Son offers to treat him to dinner as thanks, but his boss declines, saying he only moved a few boxes. Before driving off, the boss tells Sohan to rest well and promises to see him at work the day after tomorrow. Watching the car disappear, Sohan reflects on his life. 6 years ago, his father abandoned him with nothing but debt. Forced to drop out of high school, Sohan spent the next years taking on every job he could find. Now, at last, he's debt free, and he even has a new bank account, one without automatic loan payments draining it. To him, his passbook shines brighter than any star in the sky. Excited about his fresh start, Sohan begins unpacking and planning his new life. With no loan sharks banging on his door, he's determined to save money and eventually pay off his deposit. When he pulls out an apron from an old job, he's reminded of all the grueling work he endured just to pay off debts he never incurred for himself. Now, his goal is simple: to live a peaceful solo life. After showering, Son is ready to retire for the night, so he turns the lights off, feeling a bit worn out from moving into his new home. He's relieved to have quit all his part time jobs, leaving him only with his cafe gig and some well earned rest. Still, he plans to pick up more extra work after a good break. As he lies in his bed, he notices glow in the dark star stickers on his ceiling, likely left with a previous tenant. They bring a smile to his face, reminding him of childhood days when he and his parents decorated his room with similar stickers. But his mood quickly turns somber, and he decides it's time to sleep. Suddenly, cracks form in the ceiling above him. A loud boom follows as the ceiling collapses. Of course, Sohan hears all of this, and he can even feel the bits of rubble hitting his back. However, he wants to think that all of that is a dream, as after all, this is his new place. Finally, when he springs up, he's forced to face reality. His ceiling has indeed caved in. A bizarre, massive object has crashed into his apartment. Furious, Son kicks and punches the thing, shouting threats about calling the cops unless whoever is responsible pays for the damages. Then, part of the object opens. Son steps back as something or someone emerges. To his astonishment, it's a strikingly handsome red haired man. Confused, Son tries to wake him up but grows disgusted with the squirming worm like creatures wrapped around the man. Poking the stranger's face, Sohan briefly notes how soft his skin is before berating himself for the thought. His frustration boils over, and he slaps the man in an attempt to wake him. When the stranger still doesn't stir, Sohan doubles down, slapping him repeatedly until the man finally opens his eyes. The redhead's piercing gaze locks onto Sohan, and in an instant, Sohan finds himself incapacitated. Stunned by the man's strength, Sohan is speechless as a stranger, visibly annoyed, speaks for the first time. He asks Sohan if he wants to get pregnant. Looking back later, Sohan had realized this was the moment his hopes for a simple, peaceful life were utterly destroyed by an alien intruder. Unsurprisingly, Sohan is stunned by the redhead's outrageous question. He had never really thought about the existence of aliens. His life had always been consumed by work, but even if he had, he'd never have imagined ending up in a situation like this. Struggling against the redhead's grip, Sohan listens in disbelief as the alien tells him there's no need to be scared. The redhead then casually remarks that while male earthlings typically can't get pregnant, it might still be fun to try anyway. Son's anger flares, especially when the alien has the audacity to say that ugly isn't usually his type. The redhead continues, praising Son's broad chest and sturdy build, suggesting that he'd be great at bearing children. Completely floored, Sohan readies himself to teach the alien a lesson, but his hand suddenly lands on something slimy and squishy. Instantly, chills run down Son's spine. His phobia of such textures kicks in, and he stumbles backward, his hands trembling as his heart races and tears well up in his eyes. Turning away, he desperately tries to compose himself, but the alien simply observes him, clearly intrigued. With a wave of his hand, the redhead commands a slimy tendril to strike, wrapping tightly around Sohan's ankle. Before Sohan can react, he's yanked forward, utterly shocked. In the next moment, the redhead forcibly kisses him, stealing Sohan's first kiss. Meanwhile, the alien spaceship begins to act up in the background, but the redhead pays it no mind. He's too preoccupied with ripping Sohan's clothes and spreading his legs. Encouraging Sohan to cry more, the alien taunts him to stop covering his face, wondering aloud if all Earthlings are this easy to turn on. As if on cue, the slimy tendrils around Sohan grow agitated, but the alien ignores them, boldly grabbing Sohan's lower regions despite his protests. The spaceship continues malfunctioning until, suddenly, a small creature leaps out just as the ship explodes. The tiny alien lands on Sohan's chest, startling him but also interrupting the redhead. The little creature bursts into tears, but the redhead merely scoffs at its inability to handle their crash landing. Only then does he finally glance at his wrecked spaceship, realizing the severity of the situation. While the redhead busies himself with the ship's damaged interface, Sohan looks at the really cute creature on his chest, wondering if it's an alien too. Suddenly, feeling exhausted, Sohan looks up and admires the lovely view through his roof. He thinks that if he just gazes up and drifts off to sleep, everything that just happened will go away. He wonders what he should tell his landlord as he lies there, dripping into his pants. Sohan starts petting the white creature, calling it small and cute, unlike the other alien. The redhead's voice snaps him back to reality as he begins fixing the broken wall. Relieved yet annoyed, Sohan hopes the alien will leave soon, only for the redhead to casually announce that he'll be staying for a few days to repair his ship. Stunned, Sohan protests, saying he has no intention of sharing his house. But the alien, unfazed, retorts that he's staying because Sohan happens to live there. With a smirk, he finishes his declaration by calling Sohan his little uggo. While the white creature chirps excitedly, Sohan is at a loss for how to respond. The red-haired alien nonchalantly remarks that having an uggo around would make things less boring for him, predictably offending Sohan. The fluffy creature hops over to its master, who quickly deduces that it's hungry. Without hesitation, the alien jokingly offers Sohan as food, prompting the latter to spring to his feet in alarm. Feeling overwhelmed, Sohan decides to clean himself up, reflecting bitterly on his predicament. Some people's houses get hit by meteors and they win the lottery. Meanwhile, a literal alien crashes into his home and wants to move in. He briefly considers buying a lottery ticket but dismisses the idea, believing that honest money comes from hard work. His thoughts are interrupted when the redhead finds his fridge, and Sohan sighs, resigning himself to the fact that his home has been invaded by a ridiculously handsome freeloader. While pondering how to evict the alien, he watches as the redhead explores the apartment with casual curiosity. Later, Sohan asks why the alien came to Earth, reasoning that if he can resolve the alien's issue, he'll leave sooner. As the fluffy creature happily feasts on the contents of his fridge, the two engage in a tense stare off. The redhead brushes off the question, saying it's unnecessary for Sohan to know his reasons. All he needs to do is keep the alien entertained. Sohan prays for patience before asking another question. Whose blood is all over the redhead? When the alien reveals that it's his own, Sohan feels relieved and hands him some medicine for his injuries. Assertively, he reminds the alien that it's his house, startling the fluffy creature mid meal. The redhead chides Sohan for being so loud, prompting a sheepish apology as he encourages the creature to finish eating. Continuing their conversation, Sohan offers to let the alien stay briefly, even volunteering to act as his guide and assist with his mission. However, his real goal is to ensure the redhead leaves quickly and peacefully. The alien, unimpressed, cheekily declares that it's his house now, much to Sohan's mounting frustration. The redhead acknowledges Sohan's words but insists he doesn't need a guide. Sohan, however, retorts that he'll be the judge of that. Looking contemplative, the alien moves to the window. Hilariously, Sohan hopes he'll just leap out and disappear. Instead, the redhead motions for Sohan to approach, which he stubbornly resists. Undeterred, the alien grabs his shoulder and asks if Sohan is serious about helping him. When Sohan demands to hear his story first, the alien complies, instructing him to look straight ahead. As the fluffy creature lies contentedly full, the redhead begins ominously by saying humans are on the brink of ruin. He criticizes humanity as weaklings who pretend to be the strongest, a sentiment Sohan begrudgingly agrees with. Eerily, the alien predicts that humans will perish in a few thousand years, along with our star. The unsettling look in his eyes sends chills down Sohan's spine. The redhead adds that wiping humanity out would be easy, especially with Sohan so eager to help him. Grinning, the alien mockingly praises Sohan's determination to assist him, while the Earthling bitterly thinks this alien is anything but a lucky star. Chuckling, the redhead asks if Sohan wants to live. Sohan bluntly replies that survival is the instinct of any living creature. Then comes the revelation. The alien has one specific human he wants to eliminate first. If Sohan helps him find that person, he might reconsider wiping out the rest of humanity. When Sohan asks who it is, the redhead reveals that the target is the Earthling who abandoned him in space, his father. Eventually, Sohan learns the name of his unwelcome guest, Sihua. The alien hails from planet Alpha, a place so distant that no Earthling could ever hope to reach it. To the residents of Alpha, beings who were practically perfect in every way, Earth was just another of the countless planets in the universe creeping toward extinction. That changed when one Alphayan crash landed on Earth, fell in love with an Earthling, and bore a child. That child grew up to be the punk Sohan now knows as Shihua. At present, Shihua is recounting how his father disappeared shortly after his birth. Sohan struggles to wrap his head around the idea that Shihua's earthling father gave birth to him, though Shihua doesn't find it strange at all. Sohan suggests using the advanced technology of the Alphayans to locate the missing father, but Shihua dismisses the idea, stating that his people never considered Earthlings worth that kind of effort. When Sohan asks how he plans to find his father, Shihua reveals a 20-year-old Hanguk University ID belonging to a man named Chei Shiin. Reading the name, Sohan mistakenly calls the alien Chei Shihua, which earns him a sharp correction. Shihua angrily emphasizes that his name is just Shihua, his intense expression scaring Sohan. Later, resigned to his new roommate, Sohan prepares some blankets for the injured alien, ensuring they're comfortable. As he mentally assigns chores to Shihua, the small white creature approaches him with its feelers. Sohan screams in panic just as Shihua emerges from the bathroom. The Earthling tries to fend off the chirping alien, who's confused by his reaction, while Shihua nonchalantly ignores the commotion. By the time Sohan turns around, the redhead has already claimed his bed and ordered him to turn off the lights. Left with no choice, Sohan settles onto the makeshift bed. Unable to sleep, he ponders Sihua's half-human nature and the deep hatred driving him to seek revenge against the father who abandoned him. He wonders why Chei-Shi-in did it, especially since the man looks kind. That thought brings Sohan back to his own painful memories. Years ago, he had received a notice about his father's enormous unpaid loan. Without his knowledge, his father had named him as a guarantor before vanishing. Sohan hadn't seen his parents in years. They had truly abandoned him. At the time, he had been consumed by anger. When rage stems from love, it burns even hotter. Ultimately, Sohan decided to pay off the debt as a final act of love for his parents. That decision gave him the strength to keep going, even as his anger smoldered and left ashes in his heart. Looking back now, he feels embers reignite, buried but still glowing faintly. Sihua's rage stirs something in him, making his chest feel hot. Somehow, the alien senses it and opens his eyes. Hours later, dripping, writhing tentacles hover over Sohan. Drops from the appendages land on him, making him feel uncomfortably wet and warm. As he awakens, he's attacked by slimy feelers, which stroke sensitive parts of his body while warm hands roam over his back. Alarmed, he spins around to see Shihua's grinning face. The alien asks if Sohan feels sorry for him, adding that if he does, he should offer comfort. Sohan tries to protest, but a voice interrupts. Shihua, waking him up. Disoriented, Sohan realizes it was all a dream. Embarrassed, he glances at the alien, who bluntly teases him about his flustered state. Afterward, Sohan reflects on how futile it seems to post about Chei-Shi-in online. If the man never bothered searching for his own son, why would he respond now? With nothing but a 20-year-old ID as their lead, Sohan feels their search is nearly impossible. But of course, Sihua is too stubborn to accept that. Currently, they're at Hanguk University where Sohan works. Before entering, he gives Shihua strict instructions not to cause trouble, especially since he's on familiar territory. Their small furry companion, whom Sohan has named Pipi, accompanies them. Sohan reminds Pipi to keep its tentacles hidden, and the creature obediently complies. Shihua finds the name Pipi amusing, prompting Sohan to ask what the little alien's real name is. The redhead dismissively says it doesn't have one. Undeterred, Sohan declares that its name is Pipi from now on. As they walk, Sohan notices the campus is unusually busy, despite the semester being over. He piles on more instructions for Shihua. Don't talk to strangers, don't kiss anyone, and absolutely no weird comments about getting people pregnant. Childishly, Shihua asks if he can talk about wiping people out, to which Sohan sternly reminds him that finding his father is a priority. Feeling stressed, Sohan worries he's on the verge of an ulcer. Instead of heading straight to the department office, he decides to stop by the campus cafe to ask his boss if he recognizes Chei-Shi-in, a former graduate. On the way, Sohan hopes Shihua will behave. but the alien is like a mischievous child. He's climbing the school statue, he's breaking things, and recklessly exploring. Exasperated, Sohan tells him to stay in sight, muttering that he might need a leash to keep the alien under control. Suddenly, Sohan hears someone call his name. It's his coworker Hyukjin, surprised to see him on campus on his day off. Spotting Shihwa, Hyukjin is awestruck, exclaiming how handsome the redhead is and asking if he's new on campus. Shihwa leans in and whispers that Hyukjin must be Sohan's friend, since he's ugly too. Sohan hushes him and introduces Shihwa as his friend. Hyukjin excitedly shakes Shihwa's hand and asks if he's on social media. The redhead yanks his hand away, startling Hyukjin into apologizing. To ease the tension, Sohan explains that Shihwa isn't the type to use social media. When Hyukjin hears Shihwa's name, he gushes about how cool it sounds and insists the alien would be wildly popular online. To change the subject, Sohan suggests Hyukjin make them the new drink he's been working on, which his coworker thinks is a great idea. As they start talking about other topics, Sohan motions for Shihwa to follow him. The redhead seems preoccupied, looking at his hand. He's thinking that touching somebody else aside from Sohan feels different. At the cafe, Hyukjin serves them his creation. Sohan compliments the drink and hands a cup to Shihwa, who seems to enjoy it as well. With Sohan's approval, the drink earns a spot on the menu. The boss remarks on Shihwa's striking looks, prompting the alien to glare at Sohan as a signal to start asking about Choi Shi-in. Unfortunately, the boss doesn't recognize the man in the ID, but promises to ask some of his old acquaintances. He advises them to check the department office next. Just then, a pale student suddenly enters, startling Shihwa so much that he sprays his drink. While the student collects his much needed coffee, Son fusses over the redhead, wiping his face with napkins. Sohan quickly ushers the alien out of the cafe, bidding his boss and Hyukjin goodbye. At the Department of Philosophy, Shiva wanders off again, much to Sohan's frustration. He enters a classroom that, thankfully, is unoccupied. As Sohan tries to usher him out, the sight of the room stirs memories in Shiva. He recalls sitting alone in front of a large screen as a child, constantly monitored by another Alphaean. Breaking the silence, Shiva asks if the room is always full of humans. Sohan, distracted by Pipi sniffing around, admits he's unsure since he never went to college. Suddenly, Pipi darts away before entering a nearby clubroom, drawn by the smell of food. Son hurries after the creature, promising sausages later if it behaves. Before they can leave, voices echo from the hallway. Realizing they aren't supposed to be there, Sohan panics and grabs Shihwa. The trio scrambles into a locker just as the couple enters the room, clearly intent on some intimate time. Squished inside the cramped space, Son is horrified, wondering how his day spiraled so far out of control. As the couple outside the locker starts getting busy, Shiva suggests they leave, but Son insists they wait. He doesn't want anyone to see Peepee. The redhead couldn't care less, but Son remains firm, frustrating Shihua. Annoyed, the alien sighs and rests his chin on Sohan's head, prompting a complaint about how pointy it is. Shifting his attention to the couple, Shihua watches their actions with curiosity, wondering if they're lovers. Mesmerized by what they're doing, his eyes grow intense. Meanwhile, Son squirms, trying to manage Pipi's wandering feelers, which keeps distracting Shihua. Irritated, The alien recalls that incapacitating a human requires grabbing them by their vitals. Without hesitation, he grabs Sohan down south, leaving the latter completely stunned. Shihwa tells him to stay still, attempting to refocus on the couple. Sohan, however, is too bewildered to understand why this is happening. As the couple continues making out, Shihwa remembers scenes from Earthling films he's watched, where people laughed and cried during moments like these. He notes the caresses exchanged, fascinated by how they change the lovers' expressions. His scene touches between family, friends, and lovers, but these movements evoke a deep curiosity in him. He wonders how such contact feels and why it seems to radiate warmth. Shiwa recalls grabbing the hand of the Alphayan who monitored him as a child, but the touch lacked the warmth he'd seen in movies. It wasn't what he was searching for. Meanwhile, Sohan is reaching his limit. Convinced that Shihua is some kind of voyeuristic sicko, he silently begs the couple to leave. Adding to his misery, Shihua's hand remains stubbornly in place, and Pipi's feelers only make things worse. Blood rushes south, and Son struggles to maintain composure, praying for the awkward situation to end. Minutes drag on, but neither the couple nor Shiwa seems inclined to stop. Frustrated, Son starts to get angry at the redhead, but Shiwa's strikingly handsome face makes it impossible to stay mad, and he finds himself unconsciously trying to find release. Noticing the movement, Shiwa smirks, grabs Sohan, and exits the locker, leaving Pipi rolling on the floor behind them. Sohan panics, but Shihwan nonchalantly reveals that the couple had left ages ago, a detail Sohan completely missed. Amused, Shihwa asks if Sohan enjoyed his touch, teasing that he's the most passionate earthling he's encountered. Embarrassed, Sohan retorts that Shihwa hasn't met enough earthlings to make that judgment, and insists the alien is to blame for his predicament. He shoves Shihwa's face away, but the redhead grows contemplative before commenting that Sohan's hand is warm. He demands that Sohan stroke his head, the latter becoming bewildered by what he just said. Son says that maybe Shihwa meant that he should hit his head, but the redhead only tells him to shut up before instructing Sohan again to stroke his head. After Bibi rolls upright, it resumes devouring the sausages left on the table. Meanwhile, Sohan remains baffled by Shihwa's strange request, but reluctantly decides to comply. Humorously, he starts by harshly scratching Shihwa's scalp, which immediately earns the alien's ire. Annoyed by the rough treatment, Shihwa snaps at him to stop. Eventually, Sohan softens his touch, gently stroking Shihwa's hair. To Sohan's surprise, the tender gesture has an unexpected effect. Shihwa's heart begins to race, and he leans into Sohan's hand, clearly enjoying the warm, comforting sensation. Sohan watches curiously, noting Shihwa's dreamy and focused expression and the sound of his thundering heartbeat. Bewildered, he wonders if this is the result of the caffeine the alien consumed earlier. Without warning, Shiva leans forward, pressing his body against Sohan's. Still dealing with his own unresolved tension, Sohan guides the alien to rest against his chest. He can't help but notice that, despite using the same body wash, Shiva somehow smells like flowers. They remain in that position for a while, with Sohan attributing Shiva's loud heartbeat to the drink from earlier. Eventually, Sohan speaks up, suggesting they should leave, but Shihwa doesn't budge. Instead, the redhead fixes him with an intense gaze, making Sohan realize that Shihwa might be mimicking the couple they had seen earlier. He chuckles inwardly at the thought, Shihua truly is like a child, especially given his earlier antics and his entire mission to come to Earth out of his anger at his father. Sohan wonders if this childlike nature is why he keeps indulging him. Looking at Shihua's face, Sohan muses that the alien looks almost angelic when he's quiet. But, as if on cue, Shihua breaks the silence with a blunt observation. He tells Sohan that he's uglier than he thought. Annoyed, Sohan can't believe that's all Shihua has to say after all the indulgence he's shown him. Before he can continue complaining, Shihua suddenly leans in for a kiss. It's hot, it's searing, and Sohan finds himself distracted with the alien's weight pressing against him. Shihua glances downward before commenting that he's already helped Sohan with his predicament multiple times before. Sohan immediately protests, firmly rejecting the idea that anything Shihua has done counts as help. Fueled by annoyance, he briefly considers taking revenge on Shihua's junior, but stops short when he sees it. His thoughts betray him. It looks so pretty and perfect. Before long, things heat up between the two. They grow handsy, trading kisses as passion flares. When the redhead reaches for Sohan's behind, the latter tells him to stop. Shiva says he knows how to do it, as he has seen how it's done. But Sohan is wary about being caught doing that inside the campus. Still, he tells Shihua that if they're going to do it, the alien will have to do exactly as he says. Sohan offers his mouth, causing Shihua to hesitate momentarily. As Sohan tries to adjust into a more comfortable position, the impatient alien refuses to wait. Sohan struggles to breathe, feeling the ache in his jaw intensify, while Shihua seems to be thoroughly enjoying himself. Out of nowhere, Shihua remarks that Sohan's body feels much hotter than the other humans who had touched his hand before. As they continue, Shihua notices something unusual. His heart is pounding erratically. The sensation is strange and unfamiliar, leaving him puzzled. Meanwhile, Sohan, observing Shihua's dilated pupils and trembling hands, reaches a conclusion. Shihua is officially banned from drinking coffee ever again. Eventually, Shihua finds his release, and Sohan pushes him back. Determined to finish, he uses his hand, not minding Shihua's curious gaze. Despite his best efforts, Sohan struggles. Shihua, watching intently, feels a sudden stirring deep within himself. Unable to resist, he pushes Sohan back onto a table, pleading to let him do it. Sohan, desperate to finish, refuses, promising Shihua that he'll allow it next time. Finally, both of them climax, leaving Sohan in a state of relief. His thoughts briefly wander, relieved that Shihua almost, but not quite, took his first time. Suddenly, a strange noise interrupts their moment. Initially thinking that it's Pee-Pee, Sohan tells the fluffy alien to behave and turns to check on it. However, what he sees makes his blood run cold. Standing nearby is a mysterious figure cloaked in dark fabric, silently watching the compromising scene between the two men and the fluffy white alien perched on the table. Moments earlier, while Sohan and Shihua were preoccupied, Pipi knocked over a figurine that toppled onto a slumbering student. The startled student, upon waking, immediately noticed Pipi and was stunned. This student, Choi Gabin, is from Hanguk University's philosophy department and happens to be Sohan's landlord. Sohan rents a rooftop unit atop Gabin's two-story home. Overwhelmed with emotion, Gavin trembles at the sight of the adorable alien. Sohan, meanwhile, scrambles to explain the situation, all while shaking Shihua awake. Suddenly, Gavin shouts, calling Pee Loopy and hugging the little alien tightly, paying little attention to the two men. It turns out Gavin is a massive fan of Loopy, a beloved film character to whom Pee bears a striking resemblance. After relocating to another spot, Sohan whispers to Shihua, asking if he knows how to erase memories. Unfortunately, Shihua admits he doesn't, adding a snarky comment about Sohan always looking for the easy way out. This infuriates Sohan, especially since their predicament is entirely Shihua's fault. Luckily, Gavin seems more interested in Pee than the compromising scene he walked in on earlier. Realizing it's wise to come clean, Sohan decides to tell Gavin the full story. Well, almost. He conveniently leaves out a part about Shiva's mission to end his own father. Gavin, however, is devastated to learn he missed witnessing the alien crash landing because he'd fallen asleep in the clubroom after a late night stargazing session. Lamenting the lost opportunity to capture a viral photo, he agrees to help the two search for Shihua's father on one condition. He gets a ride on the alien spaceship. While Shihua flatly refuses, Sohan promises Gavin a ride once the ship is fixed, earning an excited cheer from the student and an annoyed glare from the alien. Sohan reminds Shihua that this is all for his sake. Gavin easily accepts the idea of Shihua and Pipi being aliens, commenting on how uncanny Pipi's resemblance to Lupi is, and gushing over the creature's cuteness. Sohan silently disagrees, while Shihua simply feels sleepy. Gavin adds that he's uninterested in humanoid beings like Shihua, unless, of course, he secretly has tentacles or a tail. With Gavin's promise secured, Son can finally focus on his daily life. Back at work at the cafe, he now has Shihua tagging along to keep him out of trouble. Days earlier, Gavin had informed them that their department office was closed for the month and wouldn't release alumni information. Instead, he lent Sohan his student ID to aid their library search. Gavin also happily took Pee off their hands, sending Sohan endless photos of the alien in adorable costumes. Sohan only needs to worry about the other alien. As he doesn't trust him to be alone while he's at work, Sheila has been coming with him to the cafe for a few days now. Sohan has him watching kids' YouTube, which the redhead devours with great enthusiasm. Sohan's boss comments on the influx of students, all drawn by Shihua's presence. When a girl approaches Shihua for his contact info, Sohan intervenes, warning her that Shihua is no good and a total player. He silences Shihua mid-insult, covering his mouth. The boss, meanwhile, reveals that his inquiries about Shihua's father have come up empty. Stroking Shihua's head, Sohan notes a change in him. The alien now seems distracted and distant whenever his father is mentioned. Later, after work, Shihua cheekily squeezes Sohan's butt, looking forward to next time. Sohan tells him not today, prompting Shihua to cling to him sulkily. Despite the heat, Shihua wraps himself around Sohan, who grumbles about being unable to walk properly. When Shihua realizes they're not heading home, Sohan reveals they're bound for the university library to conduct some important research. Will they find anything useful? Here's a hint: they absolutely do. This segment of the manhwa is packed with humor, steam, and intrigue. Shihua is irresistibly handsome. Pipi is the epitome of cuteness, and Sohan, he's an absolute gem. What did you guys think? Let me know in the comments and don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates. Thanks for watching.